Perfect. Brian Powell of I Run Far here with Sage Canaday before the 2017 Lake Sonoma 50 mile. How are you, Sage?
I'm doing great. Healthy and happy to be here. It's always fun to come to California to race.
Yeah, this is the first time we've chatted this season, but you're a couple races in. How did the V-Brim Hong Kong 100K go?
It was solid. It was solid. A lot of stairs, like thousands of stairs. But you know, as a stacked field, like I was like over a winter break after a tough go at North Face. I was like, I need to reestablish base, but I didn't have very much time. So I just put in like easy base mileage, trying to run over the holidays. And then I looked at the starting list and I was like, oh, like Dedrick, Tim Tollefson, I mean, so many guys, you know. It was Seth Swanson.
Yeah.
Like that was a tough race and good Hoka representation, but you know, it's solid to be on the podium. I'm always trying to win, but
it's also
early season.
January.
Yeah,
so.
Early season, and I hate stairs.
Yeah.
I have trouble walking upstairs, and yeah, it was tough.
Then that is not in your wheelhouse, because you're not exaggerating when you're saying there are thousands of stairs.
No, I'm not that's not an exaggeration.
And then in March, you ran Chuckanut 50K again, and you placed third there. Behind Max and Hayden. They had a great race, and you had a pretty strong race yourself.
Yeah, it was solid. It was hard to compare times for me because in 2012 when I did that race, I fell and got stitches, and Max and I got lost, and then I was like trying to extrapolate it, and it was just like, you know, it was sloppy that year too. But I think, you know, running against those guys who have, you know, they're such fast runners. I know like Hayden trained really hard. Max was in really good form, tuning up with a lot of 50Ks. They had that speed. Coming down after Chin Scraper, I was like, this is not going to be good for me, because usually, like, going against mountain guys, pure mountain guys, I like the flat road runnable stuff. Against Max King and Hayden Hawks, who are our faster flat runners, I did not like that, and I kind of rigged up pretty hard in the last 10K, but yeah, they ran great there. It was fun competition.
And do you think you had a good effort?
It was solid. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. Yeah. I've had a tough last year and a half of like some inconsistent races, so it's good to be back on the podium again, especially in like really competitive races. And I actually had signed up for this race before I signed up for Chuckanut, and then I was like, oh, I should do a tune-up 50K before my 50 miler here. And then I saw, you know, Max entered, and I saw Hayden, and I was like, man, this is gonna be a really competitive race. I got to taper a lot for Chuckanut, and you know, I treat every race as an A race, so you know, I bring it.
So you just made the point of the last year and a half you had some inconsistent results. Now, has that been just random chance? Has it been a mental block? Have you had physical problems? What do you have any reasons for that?
Well, my mantra is any surface, any distance, and I take that to heart. I love that. But what I learned in the last 2 years was that basically I can't transition as fast as I think I can. So like 2 years ago, I did the Boston Marathon. I was trying to get an Olympic trials qualifier. I did Comrades.
Tried a couple times.
Yeah, I did Comrades, but then in between I did Speed Goat and UTMB that year. Of course, I got injured at UTMB and couldn't finish, but I couldn't. It was hard to get my mountain legs back, and then I tried to qualify for the trials again a couple months later at like Cal International, and it just the switching back and forth between my mountain legs and my flat road legs within, you know, 2 or 3 months, I think kind of sold me short a little bit on the road. I didn't quite get my flat speed back, missed the Olympic trials by 12 seconds. And then when I transitioned back and forth to the mountains, you know, you need to put in a solid training block of like 4 or 5 months of a lot of climbing and, you know, a lot of trail running versus a lot of track work and speed work. So, you know, the focus, I need to give myself more time to make that transition. And I think that was probably a key to it. It was just the variable running economy.
And do you think that focus is starting to happen right now? Like, have you had enough solid trail training to be in top form for this race?
I mean, that's the whole goal, is applying your failures in the past and the lessons you learned in the last year and a half to any surface, any distance, and trying to put it into this year in perspective. So this year I decided this is going to be my mountain year. Okay. Like, I just want it to be a mountain year. This race and Chuckanut are my flattest, fastest, most runnable trail races the whole year. Yeah. After that, it's going to be all mountain focused. #1 goal is to try to do well at UTMB, try to compete for the win there, at least podium, at least finish. That's always the first goal. And so, you know, I'm not going to mess around with any really fast runnable stuff. I'm not going to you know, it's a tough choice because I wanted to do comrades. Like I was about to sign up for comrades. It's an up year. I love comrades. I want to go back to comrades. And then I was like, wait a second, this is your mountain year. Like, you can't be doing comrades and road marathons and then you do UTMB 2 months later.
Yeah.
And likewise, you know, even if I get top 2 on Saturday, I'm not going to do Western States either.
That temptation is not going to draw you aside.
Well, I mean, it's a hard choice, but I think you got to pick and choose your battles at the top level. And Western States is not like UTMB at all in terms of how it runs. I mean, it's a net downhill. UTMB is a mountain course, and the turnaround is just really tight. And you know, last summer I tried to do 200s in one summer, and it was a disaster. I couldn't recover after.
And people can finish
Western.
at one, you know, finish 2, but to try to compete at the very top level.
I think it would hurt my chances. If I did Western, it would hurt my chances at UTMB. And then to like knock it out of the park at both of them, I think would be really, really hard to do because they're such different courses. And I respect the 100-mile distance. It's been really fickle for me, and I just want to focus on that. I want to do mountain racing. So after this, it's going to be, you know, Mount Blanc Marathon, Mount Washington, probably Speed Goat, then UTMB.
So fast racing in there.
Shorter races, but pure mountain races.
Mount Washington. I mean, that's
that one's a little. Yeah, I just love that race.
You're just gonna go do it because you love it, not you're not gonna change your training a ton for.
I mean, I periodized my training, so you know, after this I could take a break, and then it's gonna be big mountain focus and a lot of vertical, like all uphill stuff. But yeah, the intensity there for Mount Washington is a little different. It's more like a half marathon versus the 100. But I like starting small and starting short with, you know, shorter races, faster races, and then gradually moving up in distance over the summer. It always worked for me in college and in track, doing like 3Ks and 5Ks, then moving up to the 10K, then doing a half marathon or doing a bunch of half marathons before doing a marathon. So I kind of like that, more speed and intensity first and then extend the stamina and endurance. But a lot of climbing, Gotta get my mountain legs back. Still working on that.
Now this weekend, you've won this race before, and there's a pretty solid field and a bunch of guys you've raced against in the past. How do you think obviously you'll want to go for the win, but who do you think would be up there challenging you on Saturday morning?
I mean, a lot of guys, and you guys have previewed in your preview. You know, Chris Macco's been training hard. He's a local on the scene. Ryan Bach, who's been second here before, third at North Face. Pat Smythe is a great runner. I mean, he's a 102 half marathon runner. You look at like Ryan Bach and Pat Smythe's PRs, and there's like, you know, 13:36, 13:37 5K. You know, 102 half marathon, 2:14 marathon, 2:15 marathon. A lot of speed. I've raced those guys, you know, at the Olympic trials and marathon. They're always way ahead of me. At, you know, cross country, U.S. cross country, they're ahead of me. But, you know, at 50 miles with 10,000 feet of climbing, I think they could be vulnerable. And it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. It's Pat's first 50 miler. Yeah. You know, Chris Macco's been on the scene, but he's been training a lot more. You can see on Strava, you know, he's putting in big volume, 140 miles a week, I don't know, maybe 150.
With some pretty good intensity.
Yeah, like 20,000 feet of vert. So like that makes your legs strong. That's serious. And you know, these guys all have a pretty high VO2 max based on their track time. So that's a matter of, are your legs going to hold up over the full distance and in the climbing? And you know, I don't know what the course conditions will be like exactly. So it's hard to predict times. And then I heard there was a little reroute too with some added climbing and distance.
A small one, yeah.
And yeah, it's hard to say with the mud and the dynamic. I don't always time trial, so it'll just be a race of attrition, and there'll be guaranteed pain, basically.
There will be, and I mean, having just listed off some of those guys' PRs and knowing how some folks race here, it's gonna go out quick. You think?
Yeah. I don't see it going out slow. I mean, I don't want it to go out super slow because against those guys, I don't want it to be a sit and kick race. That being said, I don't always want to be, you know, pushing the pace, but you play it by feel. You take into account how you feel, and there's strategy involved. There's Strava analysis involved, splits on my arms, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think you'll have any particular strength versus the field as it stacks up on Saturday? Like in terms of, you know, you have more experience than outside of maybe Dakota Jones. I mean, he was also racing.
Oh yeah, I mean, he'll be up there too. I left out so many people.
You know, but yeah, I mean, you have more experience in that, you know, last 25 miles of a race as opposed to the people you'll be racing up there. Do you think that's an advantage?
Definitely. I mean, I know the way the course runs, having done it twice, so that definitely helps. And yeah, I mean, I'd always like to just try to improve my own time too. Like I compare times to the past, but it's definitely an advantage to know how you should be feeling at halfway and what hills, how it feels in the last 12 miles and things like that. So yeah, definitely.
So far, every year this race has been run, it's been run 8 times. Every year the men's course record has been broken. This year it stands at 6:00:52. Do you think anybody's going to go under 6?
No. I think that's a really stout time on this course. And it was interesting because, like, last time I raced here, we had this, like, waterfall finish with Zach Miller and Rob Carr and myself. We were like we were chasing Zach, and we didn't know we were gaining on him in the last 4 miles, but we were, and I was in second with a mile to go, and then Rob comes flying up behind me, and we all finished within, like, 90 seconds, maybe a minute 40 of each other. It's like waterfall finish. And at the time, you know, Zach, I think it was 6:11, 6:10. That was the course record. And then, you know, the next year, Alex Varner lowered it to 6:09. And I was like, man, it's getting real tight with these little tiny marginal improvements. And, like, my best time's, I think, 6:13, 6:14. And when I won, it was 6:15, which was the course record 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Man, I'm getting old.
4 years ago.
And so, but to go to 6 flat, I mean, that's at a totally different level. I think, you know, the course is, it might be a little warm on the warmer side. I'm not sure if it's in the 60s. Like, that's not bad, but it's not ideal. And then if it's muddy and the reroutes, those aren't in our favor. I don't know. Maybe someone could knock it out of the park, but that's a tall order, I think.
Well, good luck out there and enjoy the race, Sage.
Thanks. I'll need it.
Yeah.